Okay, I just hit record.
Chris is coming. There he is. There he is. Chris. He's here.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Oh, I didn't hear
All
you.
right.
Sorry. Oh.
Let's go ahead and dive in. This is the agenda that I've got for today. And I figured we could go ahead and start with the notes from last time because that had all of our tasks on it. So I know that Johnny's here, and so Johnny will jump in about the training in just a sec. Okay, so Anthony presented his findings about the town hall. Chris has did you have a process in there? We can go over that in just a sec, Chris, because I went ahead and posted. I've got everything right here. Is there a process in there for Facebook?
Yeah, it's pretty fundamental, but it's there.
Okay. And this also mirrors the county social media policy, right?
It's in alignment with it, yes.
Perfect. Okay, so we can go over that in a sec. And you got FAQs too. Overall FAQs, look at you, you're a busy little bunny. Okay, so I've got that for us to look at. I know we sent the link to everybody for the community events. I haven't seen anybody add a single thing. So Dorothy, have you looked at it today? I looked at it earlier in the week, but I didn't see anything new.
I think I looked yesterday. I didn't see anything new.
Okay, well, I know that I asked Johnny and or Lee, because now I can't remember, to go ahead and set up an intake form on the county website. So when people want us to come and speak to their events, it'll give us a systematic way to keep track of all of that. So I'm sure that's happening. But actually, when I emailed you guys last week, my bad, my mistake. I thought I was emailing, I thought Johnny was on there too, and Lee. So they only found out about it yesterday or the day before because I messed up. So my apologies. So don't rush on my account, Johnny. Okay. So we've got a skeletal doc of tasks too, Dorothy and I, and we can take a look at that. DEI outreach. I saw Terry sent an email right before this, and then information coordination and the draft email. So do you want to go ahead and start, Chris, and we can take a look at your stuff, or does anybody have any comments on Chris's stuff? Did everybody get a chance to review it?
Only sent it out at lunchtime today, so we could do a quick overview maybe if you can share.
Sure.
So yeah, I'll kind of go through this. Basically, I kind of have a purpose statement about how the Facebook page is a hub for information sharing, kind of what it is and what it isn't is explored a little bit in the document itself. General process, we kind of had started doing this already with a county staff person administrating the Facebook page, with a couple of commissioners as editors handling the posts in accordance with the guidelines. When posting, any one commissioner's post will be seen by another commissioner for quality just checks, making sure that we don't have any boo-boos in there or funny grammatical things going on as well. Individual commissioners can post whatever they want as private citizens on their own page, not on this page, nothing to do with this page. But it's encouraged that they follow and share the posts from this page to their folks as they go. And any commissioner can request a specific post from the web team by emailing with the requested language or what they would like posted is what's on there. Any comments or questions on that piece?
No, and they pretty much do pretty thorough, they go through and make regular Facebook posts anyway. Dorothy, Terry, any input?
Okay, I just wanted to let you know that we are getting people that are sharing from that page and not necessarily sharing from the county page. So it is kind of serving its purpose. Dorothy, I want to let you know the Young Republican group is sharing the posts, like when we post things from the county on that page, and they are following our page. So it's a very good way to get things out as people share them and people start following the page. I know that I've invited people to like the page and follow, and that's a great way to get other commissioners to ask to do that as well. Just so, because it's just a concentration, like, we're really just, sharing from the county page, the county stuff, except for it's a central, like if they hit follow, then it'll come up in their Facebook notifications that we have posted something, and instead of like following the county page where they every single post at the county on every different item, it works out really well. And so we're getting a lot of followers, and it'd be awesome if that was increased, because that's a great outreach tool.
Okay, but any questions about this document?
Just going to go over a couple other sections here really quickly too. Just kind of, we have some good practices and some restrictions outlined in this as well, as far as like helping to guide things. So good practices are sharing county posts about the review commission. I mean, some of this is obvious, but it bears, putting it in the thing. Sharing updates about the progress of the charter review process. Being personable and human when posting. We don't need to be a government like robot. We can have a normal, like, this is what we did kind of a dynamic is a good practice.
Not that Lee and Johnny are government, what did you call it?
I would never accuse them of such a thing.
Present company excluded, ladies.
Not saying that any of them are run that way, but it's a pit that a lot of Facebook, people with companies, they feel like they have to be this really stiff-necked kind of a.
I'm pulling your leg. But you got them to smile and laugh, so that's a good thing at the end of the day.
Yeah, and just kind of some general recommendations and suggestions. Restrictions, of course, avoiding any subjective comments or opinions. I mean, really, the whole point of this thing is just to share basic information, and for when people look for something, they find something, and it's reputable, and it connects directly to the county, and we can get them where they need to go in order to submit their public comment or find more information or get in touch with staff or the commissioners in general. The bulleted list under it, prohibited stuff, this is straight out of the county social media guidelines. You can look through that as you please. Just bore stating those things here, I think, as well. And then the acknowledgement of public record. So that was pretty straightforward, I think pretty simple, but something that we can reference. Any other questions or comments on this piece?
Chris, the only thing that I think would be helpful would be like putting together just a little something to send to commissioners about how to have an effective Facebook post, like including links in the original post if you're going to put a picture and those kind of things. Because what happens is when people start sharing them, then the person that they shared the link with shared their post with doesn't get the link because it's not included in there. So we could put some like general, just good practices on how to make a good, how to do a good Facebook post that includes like links to what we're doing and other kind of,
Yeah, that sounds good. We can put a couple of general best practices for posting on Facebook as well in there.
Yeah, and share it with the commissioners.
Do you mind sending a copy of that to me? Do you mind sending a copy of that? Can you guys send a copy of that to me, please?
Could you shoot that over to her real quick?
Yeah, I don't need it right now, but just yeah, eventually.
He's got a couple of documents too that you'll want to look at. So while we're on a roll, we'll get everything reviewed right in front of you. And then, so the only tweak was best practices. And then
for commissioners' personal pages.
Okay. Dorothy, did you have any input about the Facebook document? Are you cool?
I think it's pretty straightforward. Seems pretty good.
Looks good to me too. Okay, excellent. That's one thing done. Excellent. Let's go to your next one since you're on a roll, Mr. Chris.
Okay.
There we go. Okay, so the next one I've got is either talking points or FAQ. Which one? Or
FAQ.
FAQ, behind door 3. Here comes FAQs.
All right, so basically the FAQ here, It's got a section for just the charter, a section for charter review commission, and then a section for each of the current amendment proposals that we have out there. If you have input on the language, great. I'm not going to read through the whole thing right here in our meeting, but really just very simple general questions that we can expect to start with. What is the charter? Where can I read it? What is the history of it? And there's this great article that Nan Henriksen wrote about the history of the Clark County Home Rule Charter. And then what other counties in Washington are charter counties? For the charter piece, for the Charter Review Commission, what is it and what amendments are you considering? And then for each of the proposals, there's a section too. I have received feedback from the DEI committee. I know Terry put a lot of work into some FAQ responses, and so did Chuck. And I consolidated those and added my own pieces as well for that page. I don't think I can turn the page from the screen here, but
yeah, I do want to say that this is accumulation of FAQs from subcommittees, and even Dorothy with the ethics committee, like, when I sent you that little thing and said, oh, do you want me to work on this? That way with the drafting committee, I sent it to him. So it's kind of, and then also when I was working with Chuck around the redistricting or districting FAQs as well. So good job in putting all that work together, Chris. That's awesome.
Definitely. We had most robust content from the districting and the DEI section, but I was going to circle back with the other chairs of the commission, of the subcommittees responsible for the ones that didn't have all the answers. And basically what I did is I pulled for the most basic questions, what is this? And
Yep.
why is it a thing? I answered those straight off of the drafting document that we have.
Yep.
But I wanted to bring it back to those groups too, to be like, well, when you were talking about this, what are the questions that came up? And what do you think some anticipated questions are? And so my thought moving forward, pending y'all's approval, is that we could post what we have after you have a quick look over it, maybe by tomorrow or something. And then as we get more content, we can have it updated on the website. How does that sound?
Beautiful.
That sounds great.
So I do want to tell you, I talked to Chuck today, and there are some things that questions that he has about
Yep.
whether or not the drafting committee should be doing things, or the communications committee be doing things, or some of this stuff should be sent to the subcommittees first. One of those is around, like, eventually we're going to have explanatory statements, and those will be probably through the drafting committee, and the drafting committee will do that. But he didn't, so he wanted to ask, but I think that would go with the subcommittees. If you're reaching out to subcommittees about FAQs, if you want to ask them at the same time, like when I reached out to all the chairs of the subcommittees asking for FAQs, like 3 weeks
Yeah,
ago.
a couple of them mentioned to me that they weren't ready to submit any FAQs. So I'm not sure if we're going to get them from everybody right away. I also wanted to mention this is much more robust than you're seeing. It's probably 6 pages, and for some reason 8 pages, and it's not scrolling through for some reason. So I apologize. For some reason, it's only showing the 1 page.
Everyone should have received it in their email at least.
Yeah.
So I tried to just explain the gist at this point.
I'm sorry, I didn't finish it. Can you guys still hear me?
Yep.
Oh, okay, because I wasn't finished. Okay, so I guess my question is, and then he also there's some questions that are coming up. He said there's questions coming about budget implications as well that may need to we need to find some kind of answer to put in an FAQ as well, and whether or not we should go to subcommittees and ask them how they would answer that, and how they would do that, put in an FAQ.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, so I would actually think the explanatory statements, that would be for the drafting committee to draft, because that actually is going to, I believe, be in the actual, on the ballot. And so that's what he asked me to kind of talk to you guys about.
Yeah, that came up Monday night. It's not the first time. So Dorothy forewarned and Chris forewarned. They, on Monday night, this is where all this came from. When Chuck and I did the NAC presentation, that was one of the questions they asked. How much will an ethics office cost? How much will a DEI office cost? And so one of the things Chuck and I were thinking about was, could we look at the other charter counties that are doing it and maybe get some kind of general idea how they're setting it up and how much it costs? Because they asked a lot about that Monday night. So that's where that stems
I
from.
know that they didn't, apparently they didn't put it in their like when they formed those committees in their charter, what Chuck told me is they didn't include the cost, and they didn't, that was not something they addressed in their actual charter amendment or in the presentation of their charter amendment. So I don't know how, the ethics committee and the DII committee wants to handle that. And I think that maybe reaching out to that, I know that, I think when we talked about it in committee, both of my chairs are right here that I'm on these committee. It was like, I think that approaching it like the cost, the benefits outweigh the cost, and it's kind of a necessary item. I don't, and so I don't know. There was a question about whether or not we should look at that and actually put a cost to it or not put a cost to it, or just say that this is, necessary. I mean, we can always talk about avoiding lawsuits and avoiding, that kind of stuff, very general. And so that's the question on how we want to handle that.
Well, the ethics committee and the ethics oversight office are also going to be revenue producers if they levy fines. So there's a whole complicated thing in estimating that. That's for the county council to do. That shouldn't be on us. The charter is supposed to just be sort of, these are the things we want you to do. These are the important aspects of government, the offices that must be staffed. It's up to the county council how they budget the money. It's not like we can, I guess, give an estimate based on what other people spend, but at the end of the day, it's going to be the council's choice to determine how much they spend on the offices.
Yeah,
I think that was
give
the
an estimate. I think the best thing we can do really is just, if people ask, maybe for the FAQ or as a talking point, we can point them toward, this is what it looks like in that county, this is what it looks like in that county, and we cannot comment on what the cost is going to be because we don't know exactly how it's going to be run and operated and staffed at this point. It's not up to the charter amenders to do those things. So I expect
it might help if I read this email, because Dorothy and I were on it, but you guys weren't. So let me read you what he wrote. It was on Tuesday, and he said, "Good afternoon. After a few recent interactions with people, and including last night's NAC meeting with Maureen, I've been receiving a measurable interest, almost a request, to include budget implications in how we present our proposals, perhaps in the ballot language. I believe we need to have a discussion on this with the full commission. So just know he's probably going to bring this up to full commission. And basically he wants to know if there was any research passed along on ethics or DEI oversight. First, Pierce County has a code of ethics. Ethics Review Hearing Officer and Ethics Review Commission, their annual budget for ethics review is $60,000. From what I've seen of the ethics proposal, if all components are included, that's something similar to Pierce County's model, what we're talking about. For DEI, that's a little bit harder. They've got half of a head count. One of the things that he said the other night too was that you have to hire somebody for ethics, but you may be able to convert half a head count for DEI. So even if we have just guesstimates like that, he's getting asked for it. We were flat out asked for it the other night. So rather than just have a political answer, at least we could do some research on what you just said, Chris, which is Pierce County has this model and it costs X. That's what they're requesting. Does that make sense? I see you think that, Dorothy.
I looked at the budget for Jacksonville, Florida, which is where I actually got the ethics policy proposal for. And so, I was trying to look into it. And they actually estimate 30,000 in revenue for their city. So they must have a lot of fines that they're
Good. And we should get about 6 million.
So, yeah, I really, yeah, so overall, that would only put us at about 30,000 a year that we have to put up, but I don't
Right.
know. Like, really, it's gonna depend on like all of those things. What kind of fines do they end up putting in legislation to levy, and what kind of how much money they want to spend on the office.
Yep.
So
Right.
I don't know. It's hard to
I think
estimate.
that's
It's
it.
not what I got elected for.
Yeah, I do think this is definitely a whole commission discussion, just
Yep.
because, yeah, it's very, very hard. And thanks for sharing that email with us, because it makes it clear when when I'm talking about this kind of stuff. And so yeah, it's very hard to kind of guesstimate something like that. And then guesstimating how much having a DEI office will save us, in productivity and retaining talent and lawsuits. So
Yeah, that's too intangible, I think. I think what they're looking for is models from others, because we can't project. We can only show what's happened, what they did, and hopefully we're a model like that. But we can't be tied to a budget, because that's not necessarily our responsibility. I think they just
right.
want directional. They want a number that's directional, not definitive. They want to know it's not $500,000.
60,000 sounds, yeah. 60,000 sounds fine. We'll just use that number. I don't really, we're just making up
I don't
numbers at this point.
Well, we don't
Yeah,
have
I
to
wouldn't
decide
really
right
want
now.
anything in the ballot, on the ballot. I mean, I can see when you're having conversations, but if we put something on the ballot, would that tie us to it? Yeah.
Isn't that usually included in like the for and against arguments? Is usually where you'll find like all
Well, the
that
for and against
information.
argument, we don't have anything
Yeah,
to do with.
we
I
don't
think
touch
the
those. So
county
I don't
auditor
know.
does that. So they can deal with that. I
Yeah.
mean, because we don't have anything to do with that. That's something that Greg Kimson, county auditor, does.
Well, maybe we can do this. Chris and Dorothy, if you could put together just even a guesstimate, like I said, based off of blank, blank, and blank, and get that to Chuck. He's just asking that we look at the cost. I don't think he's asking for absolute digital accuracy, and he sure isn't asking for a strategy on how we would implement these ethics or who would we ask to sit on. He's not asking for any of that. He's just saying we're getting these questions. We need to have some answer.
Yep, that sounds good. We're talking about this at our DEI subcommittee meeting on Monday, and Chuck's actually on that subcommittee too, so we'll
Perfect.
have a direct line for working on that one.
And
Oh yeah, we
okay.
can talk to him. Yeah, he's part of that committee, so he should be able to do that. And then as far as, Dorothy, as far as the ethics, and we can pass on what you said, like, oh, maybe we'll have some revenue. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, we go 60,000.
I like
60,000
that.
is a budget estimate with maybe 10,000 revenue. Who knows? I don't know. Might be more with our
Yeah.
current council, but who knows?
Okay. So good call outs. I've got those in the notes. I doubt we're going to have time on the 23rd to talk about budget. It seems to me there's not an urgency about this. And this is just me saying this. I didn't check with Chuck, but 23rd is going to be a packed agenda with electeds and the survey crunching. And then the 30th is elections. So I just don't know if we're going to have time to go over this stuff yet. Anyway, I'll pass it on to him.
Emergency.
Do you want to do, does anybody have any questions on the FAQ document?
Just one. What would you like the plan to be, Maureen, for I'll collect any input from the rest of the team here and give a final initial addition to Johnny. How long should I wait before sharing that with county staff?
Yeah, that's a good question. My gut says we would share this with all commissioners. Now that everybody here is cool with it, we share it with all commissioners. I know Chuck wants to have an eye on anything operational, so he'll probably want to take a look at this. and then we can vote on it. So I'm cool with it. And as long as county staff knows it's draft until commission approves it and Chuck looks at it, I
Do
say
we
go
need
forth
to
and
go to that
distribute.
degree, do you think? Like, I mean, we've been tasked with kind of putting this stuff together for the group, but maybe just give them a chance to comment on it at least, or, I mean, I'm fine either way, but it just seems like another kind of delay and eating it, like we have so little time in our meetings, just putting that out there.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well,
isn't this going
I
to change
know Chuck-
anyways when we get the survey results back? Like, there may be a
Okay.
lot more that we want to add to the FAQ depending on what we see in the survey.
Yeah,
Oh, that's a good
that's less than a week.
things that we want to change. Yeah. So I don't know. Do you guys want to wait and till after we get some survey results, or
We can always
to-
update what's there too when we have new information coming in, a living resource.
Yeah, I think just keep updating it as we go along.
You know, there's a place, and Johnny, correct me if I'm, or Lee, correct me if I'm wrong, but we've got a place on the website for our documentation, right? So if we posted a document like this and then we keep iterating it, we can repost and replace, right?
You can do it that way. The website does have a function for FAQs where it'll have the question and then the answers actually collapse. So you can click on the question and then the answer will open up in a dialog box. And Chris and I actually had chatted about this a week or so ago about kind of how the FAQs would be organized kind of by subject. So as soon as I have an approved document, I can go ahead and build those in, and we can add it to one of your existing pages, or we can create a separate section for FAQs within your navigation. And those can be at any time.
Okay.
I think I called Lee Johnny earlier. I'm sorry.
Okay, so here's what I've got. Facebook guidelines, best practices to add and then publish. FAQs, general questions. Chuck will want to okay it, but then we'll finalize it after the survey results, assuming he doesn't want to change anything or tweak the language here. One of the things that the FAQ does need to match is the talking points, obviously, so we can go to that one next. And then
about that, FAQ is the talking points.
I thought there was another talking point document.
There is, but you'll see.
Okay,
Go ahead and pull it up.
here we go. All right.
Yeah,
Now,
essentially, it's kind of a repackaging of the FAQ. The same things that we would be talking about are the same things that are the frequently asked questions. And I know I think probably Lee is a resident expert here in this sort of material. But in general, the talking points are to kind of help keep us on message and consistent, and that we're talking about the same content and stuff. So the bulk of it is exactly the FAQ. So this would come paired with that as like a document. But then also some other things to start with are just how we talk about the charter. Like sometimes we talk about how we are making changes as a commission, but we're not making any changes. We're proposing amendments to the charter. And so I just have a couple little pieces in there for kind of those key messaging points to consider. But that's all I could come up with on my own on short notice, as far as just kind of
that
being
looks good.
thoughtful
But
about how
Deanna
we
said
chart. I'm sorry, say that again.
that looks good. Deanna said talking points were her jam. So
yep.
we'll see if she wants to add to the FAQs or the talking points.
Yeah, that sounds great.
You sent it out today, so she can just email responses to you and me, Chris, and
yeah. So when she texted me to say she couldn't come to this, I said, I'm sure you're feeling tremendous guilt, so I will assign talking point review to assuage your guilt. So hopefully that little Catholic guilt will toss her way. So anyway, between all the minds, I'm sure it'll be fantastic. And if we just, what do you think about just combining it to FAQs and talking points in the same document, so we have standard lines that we use?
Yeah, that's totally the plan. I am keeping a separate FAQ document as a master FAQ, just because as we update that, we'll want that to be consistent and ongoing. And as I share that with county staff, make sure that we're in alignment on both of those as well. But when if we're going to share this as a document to the county commissioners, we'll make a giveaway edition, which is going to be both of those in the same one, if that sounds okay.
Right.
Okay.
Terry, Dorothy, you got anything else to add, or does that look good to you? Sound like a plan?
Yeah, I'm just hoping there's going to be more talking points on this document. It's kind of late, but obviously, yeah, no, it sounds good. I mean, the FAQ is what's going to propagate the website. So
Yeah.
those things can be kind of be separate, but yeah, just keeping them the same so we're consistent on messaging
Yeah.
is good.
It's really mostly intended to be as a reference. Like any presentation will have its own, speech or slides or content or whatever. But this will help steer that more than anything, not define it.
Well, and as we do more and more presentations and people ask, I'm sure this will grow as well, because there were things that we were asked on Monday night that, well, nobody's asked anything at the virtual town halls practically, but things like, do you know what the difference is between the redistricting committee and the redistricting commission? And which one are we waiting on in order for districting to happen in Clark County? And they had some really good ones, and they were a very friendly crowd, but I'm telling you, I texted Dorothy, I'm like, these people are serious. They're friendly, but they know what the heck they're talking about. So we have got to come in loaded for bear, or we're going to look like goofheads. And they're a friendly crowd.
Yeah. I think it's for commissioners that are just kind of talking to like whatever organization that they happen to be a member of, and that kind of stuff. It's like so putting those together with the FAQs, which I think is a great thing to kind of just send out and keep adding to for commissioners that are going to, like I'm a member of the Rotary Club, I'm going to my meeting, today. And, if people have questions about where to find, these are the things I should know just in case people ask me questions.
Yeah. And part of that will be part of the criteria for the Speakers Bureau too. Okay, nice job.
I just have one go back, Maureen, if I could. I missed it because we didn't have all the pages, but at the end of that Facebook document, I had 2 questions to ask you while we're in this meeting that I forgot about to decide on managing that Facebook page. Do we want to allow comments at all? We can turn it off for every post. And do we want to allow them to directly message the administration team? Because we can turn that on or off too. It can be a not very interactive page, or it can be one where folks can comment. I think just generally from the general vibe and concern about public information and all that, it might be best to just not have comments enabled and to just direct them towards the public comment page and the county page if they want to get in touch, because it has direct contact information there. But it's something that I wanted this group to answer. I didn't want to put one out there myself. And I put those 3
I don't think that we should allow private messaging to and that's really easy to disable. It's like, you just can't message this page. And, just leave that in, in the about section. It's like, oh, any public comment here, take it here, and, in the about section, and send them to the county page. I don't know about turning off comments. How does the county feel about, I know that you guys leave comments open, but you just if somebody is wholly inappropriate and awful, you just hide them, right? Or you do something like where it's not,
Yeah, we
visible
do
to-
leave our comments on and let people comment, because it is social media, it's a conversation. And we do, you're exactly right, Commissioner, we don't delete them because technically they still are public, they're still disclosable. So, but we do hide them. So that's kind of how we take care of that.
How do you know what to
And then-
hide? Naughty ones, swear words? What's your criteria for hiding?
Well, it's you already have the page set up with I noticed the profanity filter set to high, which is good. If name calling, stuff that I've hidden in the past is name calling. If they've somehow got around the filter by using cuss words, but using other that not letters.
Ampersand, I get you.
Yeah.
SH ampersand, I get it.
Yeah. Yep. And things like that, any kind of threatening type things will hide. And if they're putting out information that's completely wrong, that comes in, for instance, and particularly like mostly like in public health, people putting out information that's not credible, if you will. We take that down.
I bet Chris doesn't know anything about that.
Yeah, right.
So I kind of like the idea of leaving the comment on, but not responding, and then doing the filter as the county does it, you know, to kind of keep an eye on that as the county does it. Generally speaking, I don't think people would, you know, I don't think we're going to have a lot of comments. We can always change it, right, Johnny? Like to turn the comments off after if things get.
Yeah, if it gets, you know, it's best to kind of set it ahead of time. But yeah, you eventually, if it just gets out of hand, the only format that we have that I don't allow comments on is YouTube, just because one, they're all negative, they're all nasty, and I just don't have the bandwidth to keep track of that particular account all the time and look at the comments. So, but everything else, we leave the comments open.
So there's a follow-up on that then. If we're going to allow comments, people can share their thoughts, their opinions, say whatever they want about the commissioners or what. If they ask a question, do we want to, I mean, if it's a genuine question, if it's like, when's the next thingy that you're doing, or can I get a contact for my group, or what is the charter? Can we respond with basic fundamental, here's where you can go for that information, or this is the answer to your question? Are we comfortable with having that level of two-way engagement?
Like a clarifying question? Like we're
Exactly.
allowing, you know, if we allow with our public comments, like a clarifying question only. I don't know, Tony, what is your experience with that? Do you guys respond sometimes like, oh, the council meeting is on every Monday or that kind of stuff?
Yeah,
you know,
we respond all the time. Unless it's, again, somebody's being rhetorical or snarky, or, and a lot of times, and for us, if it's just a little snark, we'll just leave it, because it's, again, I err on the
Social
side of
media.
public records,
Yeah.
Right.
being transparent. But no, we respond to questions all the time on the comments.
Yeah, so it becomes a choice of our own comfort with engaging that way. And it's the same with the public health department. If people ask a real question, they'll get a real answer. It's okay with me, but I just wanted to see what folks thought.
I think if we
Sorry,
want our post to be seen, like if we want our post to be seen, then we're gonna need to have comments on and allow engagement, because that's what feeds the algorithm and gets it on people's pages. So, I mean, if we don't have comments on, then the only time it'll be seen is when people share it directly. But if they're commenting on it, then it's going to pop on everybody who's following the pages. It'll pop up on their thing. So
I know like the county doesn't necessarily answer every question, like I'm sure somebody's not 24/7 on there answering every question that comes through, and I don't think we have to kind of stress over that. It's like, oh, somebody asked where the meeting is and nobody answered them. It will happen. And it's not a hugely followed page right now. It's only like, I think we have, it's like 100 of my friends. Yeah. So we'll see what happens with it.
And so the last question on this thread is, I know that some of the commissioners are very active on Facebook with their personal pages. Do we want to encourage, discourage, or say anything about whether they should comment on posts made on this page? Because I feel like that might enter some kind of gray area about their personal pages and the commission. I'm not sure. I'm inclined to discourage it and have responses come from the page itself, is my thought on that.
That's where I would be too.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, say that again, Dorothy. I didn't catch you.
I would say I would just have the page itself answer questions and respond. And because personally, I wouldn't want my personal page interweaved with the public record like page. It just, plus, you know, we run into the whole those issues. If 3 of us respond, you know, then it's a public meeting.
Right. I know.
So,
That's exactly why I don't really think that I personally, I'm like not going to personally respond on that page, you know, with my personal Facebook account.
Okay, so I think we've got consensus. I think that we all agree that A, we would like to keep comments on the Facebook page and messages. Is that right? So we want to keep both of them. Johnny can go ahead and be in charge of that. Lucky her, more job, stability. And then the second thing was commissioners. We're going to advise commissioner. Will you put that in the Facebook in your document, Chris? We advise commissioners to not comment. They can share, but not comment.
Yeah.
So
That'd be
did we
great.
decide to leave the messenger part of it on? I had a question about that, and I didn't know if
Shoot.
we had actually talked about if we wanted to do
Oh,
that.
What's your question?
Well, if we decided that we wanted to leave the actual messenger part of it on, does the county answer people's messages when they send them messages on their county site?
Public health does.
We do, yeah. You don't have to leave your messages open though. And I thought that's what I heard in your discussion. Maybe I'm wrong.
That's what
You can allow
too.
comments, but no
maybe-
direct messaging.
I mean, if we were gonna leave the direct messaging on, could we make it like an automatic response going, please send, you know, everything with a link to the public comment, you know, with a link to, yeah, because
That's
if
a really good
you
point.
send a message and people are expecting an answer, and if you don't get to it and you don't answer, then, so that's just the way I feel about pages that I've run and stuff. So I've always turned off the message.
So with that point, Terry, good point. I thought we kind of like you said how easy it was to have it off, but I'm actually inclined to have it on, and then make it a rule that we don't reply except for a stock automatic reply, because you can do that on the pages too. I think that's a good idea, Terry.
So comments on and messages on. Anybody disagree with that? Dorothy? Terry? We're good?
Well, I mean, I'm okay with it. I would rather just turn off the message service and then we don't have to worry about it and just show on the about section, like if you want to get in touch with, you know, the commissioners or, you know, that kind of thing. But I'm okay if you want to put a stock like response to a comment. Have you done that before, Johnny?
No, I think, well, I know public health does it all the time actually, but no, we have, well,
Okay.
in our about section, we say things like this page isn't monitored 24/7. You know, it's typically monitored 8 to 5, Monday through Friday. But no, I've not done a stock answer for messages.
Yeah,
I
I
don't have
just don't want it
a
out there like, oh, and then the charter commission and the county didn't respond, and you know, if you just don't have it on, then you don't run into that problem. I don't think pages actually get messaged a lot. I don't know. Do you get a lot at the county?
No, but
Okay.
occasionally.
Yeah, so I'm good with whatever.
Okay, so for clarity, Chris, you want them on.
I honestly have no strong opinion either way. If anybody has, should we just vote on it or something?
Dorothy, what do you think? I'm totally agnostic. I will go with what the crowd wants. What do you think, Dorothy?
I'm not monitoring the page, so I don't care.
Well, you know,
It's not on me.
here's the downside, though, I just thought of, because if Johnny very rarely gets messages, she might not have her eye trained to look for them. So they might lie fallow. What are the chances of that, Johnny? You're pretty thorough. I don't know.
No, I mean, I'm checking it every day. So,
Okay.
but yeah, my bandwidth is, if y'all don't care, I would say just let's close it and leave them closed.
Okay.
Yeah.
Does anybody have any strong objections to having comments messages off, but comments on.
That sounds fine.
I don't. Yeah, that's fine
That's
with
good.
me.
That's good.
The only thing I would think people would want a message for like how to get involved, but I mean, as long as we put that in the about section, people can find it. I mean, I still don't quite know how to navigate the public comment and getting into a meeting and being able to give a public comment. So I can't explain it to other people.
We can just
Okay.
so that we post post about that a lot, so people know, because that's really why it's there, is to get people engaged, right?
Yeah, I mean, I would just kind of maybe do a regular, like right before our Wednesday meetings, regular posts that like, here's how you connect to the meeting and give a public comment. And then, you know, public comment period's 3 minutes or something like that, like just right before each meeting.
Oh, I like that.
We should encourage, did we already talk about this? Encourage, I think I already mentioned, like, encourage commissioners to share from that page as well, because that'll have like all the correct links and all that other kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And if they just share that, since it's public, they can share it to their personal page. And so that would make it a really easy thing for them to
Yep.
do.
Chris is
know.
going to put that in the Facebook
Share.
guidelines. So he's gonna
Awesome.
brush them up real quick, because there's not major changes. You did a nice job, but if we can just put those in, I think I've got notes on it. Do you feel like you've got everything we just covered, Chris? Yep, I do too. Okay. So we may
Also,
have to.
sorry, should I send that back to you, Maureen, when I'm done with it?
Yep, that'd be great.
I'll have it for you tomorrow morning.
Thank you. And then I'll just, like I said, I'll do everything we just talked about, send it on to Chuck and Deanna, let them take a look at it too. But that's really more for the FAQs. Sorry, not at Facebook. Okay. So we talked about the community events. You know, I don't know why folks aren't adding to that, but I suspect maybe it's because they don't know what's going on yet, because it's summer. I don't know. What do you think, Dorothy?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just COVID and every summer and people are just tuned out. So I don't know if anyone's really doing a lot of meetings. I mean,
Except us.
yeah,
Okay.
but and honestly, I don't know. I think we're probably all pretty burned out too. So the last thing I want to think about is going to more meetings.
Okay, so we're going to leave that for right now, and hopefully we can add to it. Does this sound fair? We can add to it as we get more information in. I know Johnny and Lee, one of the fabulous comm staff, is going to be working on an intake form to just centralize any kind of requests we have. Okay. Next, training. There isn't any. So there's no training with the prosecutor's office. So Johnny sent a couple of documents. I put my head together with Chuck, and one of the things that we're going to look at is, God, was it Johnny? Was it you that was going to talk to Chris and see if she could give us a one-pager?
Yes, and she's going to reach out to you because I think she has some questions specifically about what you're looking for. And I apologize, we played both phone and email tag. And but she's going to reach out to you directly.
Perfect. Okay. So I also, yeah. All right. So I will do that. I think Chuck had some ideas about that too. But in general, the reason we want to have training is so nobody misspeaks, nobody says the wrong thing. No, everybody knows what the guidelines are. It's not horribly difficult, but it is easy to slip into. And that's one of the things I noticed with the NAC presentation. I mean, they ask so many great questions and they ask them so fast. It's really easy, if you're not on your A game, to slip in and give your opinion. So that's one of the main reasons that we want to go ahead and have training. So Johnny to chat with Chris, and Chris is going to call me. Oh, you sure did. Yeah.
Yes, she's going to reach out to you directly. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
Let's see. Okay, so we took a skeletal shot at developing some of these skeletal. I don't know why I couldn't think of anything better to say, but developing some of the tasks that were under our purview, as it were. And it's not showing up right here either, but these are the general ones, and most of them are done, at least for the public presentations, the town halls, all that kind of thing. But it's still a work in progress. We said it would be draft, and it's draft. I'm going to give you another shot at it too, Dorothy, because I don't feel like I gave you much chance. But so that's what we've come up with so far. Okay, I'm going to pop back. Events coordination. Okay, DEI outreach.
Okay.
So I saw.
Did you want me, Chris, did you want to, I mean, the DEI committee is like reaching out to some of the marginal communities that a lot of us have worked at, have reached out to the NAACP, LULAC, One America, some community leaders around that. I think that today I posted a question about reaching out to the Indigenous community, and there is a process. I believe I have to go through the county, and so we are going to, Chuck's on that committee as well. So we are going to reach out to the county and see how we can do, we can figure out a process to reach out to them. In the meantime, I'm just going through, you know, I worked in outreach in this community, and so I was just I went through to my personal connections and just reached out and said, you know, here, and sent them, like, I think I sent you guys a sample email. I sent something similar. I usually kind of personalize them, like, hi, how you doing, you know, or, you know, at meetings and stuff. And I know that, so I don't know if Chris wants to add to that. That has been sent out to my Spanish community resources.
Yeah, basically hit the main kind of players organizationally, at least, and then also the individual contacts. Like I think a lot of us are talking to people that we actually know to encourage participation as well.
And so for the community events, I was under the impression from our last meeting, Terry was going to draft an email to send out. And I did read your email from today. You are correct. I went ahead and sent something to the community emails that were on the page Dorothy created, because by Saturday, I knew that time was of the essence for the survey. So I went ahead and sent that out anyway when I didn't see a draft or anything else come through. So that's why I did that. I didn't get anybody asking any questions about it.
Glad you did that, because I almost actually did
that email
do that yesterday. So I'm glad to know that you did do it. And
Yeah,
I didn't do it because I was about to, and then
good.
we would have doubled up.
Well, actually, you know what? When I was on the municipal blah blah, it's the acronym for regional communities, whatever it is, that page for municipalities. It said that one of the best things, which made me think of you, Chris, was to actually message several times. Because remember last week or the week before, you were like, well, I don't want people to get it too much or they'll get sick of us. They actually said that's good. So I'm like, if we did do that, it's actually a good thing.
Yeah, multiple contacts is good if they're organized. That's the only stipulation, not like, oh, hey, like if every time is the first time coming from somebody. So absolutely, that's great.
Yeah, so if we gently nag the community to fill out the survey, I think they'll be happy. Okay.
Okay. Maureen, I really liked the email that that you put out, and that I saw that you put out to community. That was great. The email that I was working on, and maybe I misunderstood, I was working on something to share with commissioners, saying, okay, just to encourage them, because I think they're a huge resource for getting the message out. So if commissioners send out to their friends, to their, or, you know, like, you know, their Rotary Club that they're a member with, and all this, and those kind of things, I think that's a good thing. So, but I like the email that I saw that you sent out.
So did you want them, when did you want them to send that out? Because it mentions the virtual town halls and the survey. So what did you want them to do with that?
I know we're a little too late for that. And if the email I that accompanied that, I kind of said like, this is something that will be kind of a living document, and we would add and adjust. So you would probably adjust that to say, we have meetings every Wednesday. Here's how you join. Here's the link for that. You can give public comment, live public comment, or you can, so those kind of things would change, but it's kind of very similar to what you put out. And we would just kind of change that and send those out regularly to like commissioners going, hey, do you want to kind of use this template?
I like that idea. That's a great idea.
So, yeah.
So basically, it's a template of an email any of us could send to our contact lists to let them know what the scoop is with the charter this week.
Right. You could make a little really cute name for it, like like I might start calling it, since you said scoop, like, Charter Review Scoop News, or or something. You could make a little newsletter out of it, if
I'll
to
have
send
to
it to
charge you
your
a
contacts.
royalty, unfortunately, since I thought of the great name. But I'm a cheap date, so happy to do it. So what do you want to do? So do you want to go ahead and draft another one? Do you guys want to be in charge of that? Because that's information, right? So do you want to be in charge of that information push out to people? And how often do you want to do it? You want to do it monthly, weekly? What's the vision there?
Want me to work on that, Chris? I can work on that tonight, to do one that is that for the next week, and maybe we could send out, because we're just sending it out to commissioners. It's very easy. Like, I could send it to you guys on Thursday for the next week, and you guys can provide input, and then by Friday we can just go, okay, let's send this out to all the commissioners. I don't know.
I like
whatever
that
you
idea.
want.
I think that's cute. That's another personal touch. I like it. What do you guys think? Dorothy, Chris, are you guys cool?
I like it. I like someone sending me a clear idea of what we're going to be doing next week, because I'm always lost.
Yes.
On board with that.
And just so you know, Chuck asked Anthony to reach out to Fair Vote Washington about the ranked choice voting for the 30th. Did you guys hear about that?
No, I haven't.
All right. So Anthony reached out to Fair Vote, and so they suggested a software to use so we don't have to scramble behind the scenes with a form. Knowing me, because I'm type A, I'll probably create one anyway in case, we have to break glass in case of emergency, who knows? But anyway, so he's going to do that. So we'll actually be using ranked, Dorothy, you'll love this. I think of you every time I think of ranked choice voting, but we'll actually be using a proper software. It's only $10. So for ranked choice voting. And the thing that I didn't get until they explained it was how many rounds you go through, because there's 14 of us and we don't know how many people have applied. Johnny or Lee, do you guys have any idea how many people have applied so far? Nope.
No.
Yeah, neither. So anyway, the more people, the harder it is, and you may have to go different rounds. So I prefer to have a software for that because I don't want to handle that one on the fly. Okay.
I like that.
Yeah, I'm just going to trust you guys. I will be camping on the 30th. So good luck making that decision.
Okay. Okay. Hey, go camp. Speaking of which, Johnny and Mary Lee are going to be out on PTO next week. Yay. So that's just an FYI. So they'll be out next week. Dorothy will out the week after that. But everybody go relax and come back battery. Okay, that's a bad joke. You ready? So why do robots have to take vacation? It's a dad joke. To recharge their batteries. You're welcome, folks. There's a 2-drink minimum. Okay. Last thing, I'm sure you'll be happy with that comment. The last thing is the survey closes tomorrow. So we're going to crunch data, which will be fun, Monday night. So we're trying to get everything ready. So probably Dorothy's the data analyst, so I will look to her for that. So we'll crunch and then put it in a PowerPoint because we're going to try and keep it high level because I really don't know, honest to God, how much time we're going to have on the 23rd to present everything. So we'll probably be looking for red flags. What are your thoughts on that initially, Dorothy? Because I know we haven't really talked about that in depth.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like SurveyMonkey puts out a bunch of like already sort of pre-done stuff, so I don't think it's going to be a whole lot. Maybe it's me interpreting stuff for people, but yeah, I think high level for now, and then definitely we're going to want to dig deeper after the 23rd into what the comments say as quickly as possible, because we'll hit our deadline in July for the proposals. But
So when I used SurveyMonkey for my last contract negotiation, and that was with 2,600 nurses that we sent out to, it came like they broke things down, like, they analyzed everything. And then the comments were just, you could just scroll through and read all the comments, and the comments were at the end after they did all the analytics to it. And so I'm thinking it's probably the union use this, it'd probably be something like that. Is that what I'm thinking? So that should go out to like all commissioners should be able to see like all the comments, right? And
Oh gosh, yeah. But we're trying to make sense out of it, right? We're looking for patterns, anything that the commission needs to know, like people hate the idea of DEI. Okay, then we need to know that, right? But it's really more directional and big picture stuff. We're not looking for digital information. We only can look for directional information. Does that make sense?
That makes sense. And I would be careful even kind of interpreting like any of the comments. I would just use the analytical part of it to kind of.
Oh yeah, we're not going to get subjective. We're just going to give actual what they said, not what we think of what they said. Okay,
Perfect.
6:01. Anybody have anything big before we end?
No, I'm good. And Maureen, my homework is just to write something for next week's commissioners, right?
Your homework
That's
is
it
to
right now?
write something, just any kind of email that kind of gives it, or develop the Terry newsletter called, what did we call it? The Scoop. Whatever you want to call it, and just give them a sample of it so they can send it out to people, especially, it's not going to be on the primary, never mind. Okay. And Chris
Okay,
has
cool.
his, and we've got ours. Thanks,
Joy,
everybody.
have a great.
Have a good evening, everyone.
Oh, you're gonna be there. Okay.
Don't get any
Bye.
bugs, Dorothy. Don't get bitten up. But that's not next week. That's the week after. All right.
Yeah.
Bye, guys. Thanks.
bye.
Howdy.